Welcome, I'm Melanie Nielsen, and this series is on encouraging more mobility. So I'm taking classic yoga poses and not emphasizing them as the deepest stretches we've ever done, not emphasizing them as the perfect alignment that we're trying to gain, but going into them and playing with them a little bit and just encouraging moving our joints and joint fluidity and waking up the body, maybe then for bigger movements, bigger yoga poses, or a bigger sequence. So essentially using them as warm-ups and a little bit of play. So this class, we're going to work with bound angle. So come to take a comfortable seat, and let's bring our soles of the feet to touch each other, and take the hands back behind you to support your body to be a little bit more upright, and then do a little side to side. And I'm just gonna let one knee and thigh come to the ground and let the other. And I'm just gonna start rocking. And again, most of these motions, just think of them as that you're actually trying to feel good while you do them. I know sometimes our yoga poses and our yoga practice, it's becomes a little bit of a fight with ourselves and a little bit of going too far sometimes. So we want to make it fun, we want to make it playful. So you're just going to rock side to side a few more times. And now the next time, let's stop on the right side. So the right thigh is down to the ground. And now let's imagine this left thigh deep at the hip socket, that you could grow the leg longer, the knee longer. So extend out of the hip socket a little, and then relax it, go to the other side, and now extend out of the hip socket and back down. Extend out, down, extend out, down. So I'm growing a little bit out in the direction of the wall as I go side to side. Now let's try to anchor one towards the floor, grow long, and now as we grow long out through that other leg, imagine it to go more towards the floor. And it might actually drop down a little bit towards the floor, but that's not my goal. So my goal would just be, how much can I imagine growing long with this leg? And then I go to the other side, I'm gonna tip a little and then extend out through the hip socket, and I'm gonna grow the knee long. And as it grows long, it might start to venture a bit to the floor on its own. And then back to center. And now you could even scooch back a little bit, grab a hold of the front of your shins and do a little rounding and arching, like a little cat-cow seated here in our bound angle. So you can bow the head, allow the tail to go under. And then as you lift your heart and head up, you might find your tail naturally moving back. So we'll do a handful of these. And one last one. Now let's take our hands back behind us again, and let's actually lean back so you're being a little more lounge-like. And pick your pelvis up and move your pelvis forward towards the feet and back. Forward and back. And now let's come back, hips on the ground. Take our body a little bit more upright so you can bring your hands in closer to get a little more lift. And now with our heart more upright, let's lean our hips close to our feet and then back a little. So I'm picking up the pelvis, going forward, setting the pelvis down, lift up, move back, lift up, move forward. And I'm relatively more straight up and down rather than an incline with my torso. Great. Now, one more time of that. And then when you land, let's take the feet on the floor for a moment. So the feet are wide, knees are wide, and do a little internal and external rotation. So one knee goes in, one leg goes out. I'm supporting myself with the arms on this first variation and trying to be a little more upright. Now, can you do it with no arms touching the floor? We do a little internal, a little external. Let's do a couple more of those. Back to center, back to classic bound angle with the soles of the feet touching. And now let's lean a bit to one side. So you're gonna side bend it. So I'm gonna walk out my right hand, take my left arm long. I'm gonna tip over to the right side again so I get more of that right thigh on the ground. Then I'm gonna actively root down the left hip. And as I anchor that left hip, do a little side bend over to the right side. You can ebb and flow it. You can come up a little, bow into it a little, up a little, bow into it a little, and just kind of encouraging the spine as you go. And then up and to the other side. I'm going to tip everything to that side. Take the top arm alongside the ear and then start to actively anchor the hip more towards the floor. Whether it touches or not is not that important. And then side bend over. You can go up and over, up and over. Now let's come back up. Let's move our hips back a little and stagger the feet. So I have one foot pointed in front of the other. So my legs are a bit askew here. And then you can take the hands behind you, do a little lean forward and back, lean forward and back. And just do a good 5 or 6 with the legs at this angle. And then let's switch the feet and do a little forward and back, wherever it feels good for arms to be. Maybe it's grabbing hold of the front of the shins and kind of encouraging you a little more forward, or it could be a little bit more behind you. So if you have the feeling that you're going to fall back, it will kind of help you propel a little bit more forward. And then last one. And now can we flip flop the feet? So we take one behind us and one at that more 90-degree angle and then lean forward and then up and you switch and you lean forward. So one leg is in this deep internal rotation, one is in this deep external rotation. Lean forward and you flip flop it. Let's do a few more. And one more to each side. And then come back to more classic bound angle. Draw yourself in as close as you wish to be. Use the hands behind you to get tall again. And then tip a little forward, pelvis, belly, heart. Maybe now you wrap the arms in front of the body, kind of hook the forearms around the shins, and then give yourself a little tug, a little tractioning forward. And then come back up, bring the legs together. Let's do a little bit of work on our back. So you'll come to lie on your back. And we're going to start with the knees bent and the feet are about as wide as your yoga mat. And then let both of your knees go off to the right side. And then we're going to keep the right leg really passive, let it be heavy. And then the left knee, you're going to start to point that knee to the sky. And as it goes more to the sky and actually even more over to the left side, you're going to feel the tug between these two legs. And the left leg is actually going to pick the right leg up and drop it over to the other side. So one leg is the doer, the other is more passive. So now my left leg is going to be passive, my right knee pokes to the sky, and it slowly goes over to the right. And as it does, it's going to pull the left leg along for the journey. At a certain point, there's a tipping point and the left leg plops down. So let's do a few of those. Knee goes up, pulls over to the left, and the right plops down. The right knee goes up, goes over towards the right. The left gets pulled along for the journey and then plops down. Left goes up, left goes out to the side, right follows. Right goes up, goes out to the side, left follows. Let's do one more to each side. Left goes up, left goes to the left, and the right follows. And last one, the right goes up, goes over to the right, and the left follows. And then you're going to bring them back to center, bring the soles of the feet to touch each other. Bring the arms in what I call robot arms, the elbows on the ground, fingers to the sky. And now give a little press with the elbows, but allow your pelvis to lift up off the ground, so those muscles of the glutes and the back of the body float you up and then lower you down. So just go up and down with the pelvis, good 6 to 8 times. And one last one. And then let's let the hips rest to the ground, let the arms rest, and as the feet are still touching each other, let the knees rest out to the side. And with no effort, no work on your part, just allow gravity to take hold, to naturally soften and open the pelvis and the hips here. And continue to stay for a handful more long, deep breaths. And then slowly draw the legs back to center. You can hug the knees towards the chest, do a nice little circle around the lower back. And then reverse your circle. And then at your own pace, roll to one side. Make your way up to your comfortable seated position. So I hope you enjoyed that play with bound ankle, and there's more to come. You could also follow me on Patreon where I have extra classes and educational tips and full-length classes, and I'll see you on the next video.